Welcome to this video on uploading a new record in Prism. Prism is the institutional repository for the research and scholarly output of Northwestern's Feinberg School of Medicine. Your deposit will create a record in Prism which consists of metadata, information such as titles and creators, and the associated files, though deposit of files is optional. Be sure you have the rights to upload and disseminate to Prism. Only the copyright owner can give permission for deposit. The person or entity holding the copyright for unpublished materials is often the author. For published materials, most authors have transferred their copyright to journal or book publishers. You can use Sherpa Romeo to check if the journal publisher allows for uploading to an institutional repository, and if so, which version of an article can be uploaded, or if an embargo must be used. In addition, the copyright owners should choose the Creative Commons license or other license if appropriate, and determine the visibility of the file. When uploading content into Prism, you are asked to agree to the Prism Deposit Agreement, which grants Northwestern University a non-exclusive license to distribute the material. Copyright owners retain copyright over materials uploaded to Prism, and they can continue to distribute the materials through other mechanisms. To upload a new record to Prism, begin by opening a web browser of your choice and navigating to prism.northwestern.edu. Once you are on the Prism homepage, you must log into Prism by clicking on the Login button on the upper right-hand corner of the homepage. Please note that a NetID is needed to access Prism. If this is your first time logging into Prism, be sure to check your email and click on the Confirm My Account link in the Prism welcome email. To create a new upload, click on the plus sign next to your name, then select New Upload from the drop-down menu. This will take you to the New Upload page. At this point, you may choose to upload a record directly to a community within Prism by clicking on Select a Community, which will show you a list of the communities you are a member of and can upload records to. If you do not choose a community, your record will be uploaded to the Prism repository and not associated with any specific community in the repository. Under the Files menu, you can select the checkbox for Metadata-only record, which means you will not be uploading any files to this version of the record. You can also choose to upload one or more files to the record by either clicking on the purple button that reads Upload Files to locate and select the desired files, or you can click on the files in their current location in your file manager and drag and drop the files into the gray rectangle that says Drag and Drop Files. You can upload up to 100 files or 10 gigabytes to one record in Prism. Please note that multiple files within a single record will be given one DOI. To generate a DOI for separate files, please create separate records. In the upload process, you can delete a file from a record by clicking on the trash can icon next to the file name. Please note, file addition, removal, or modification are not allowed after you have published your upload. Under the Basic Information menu, you are required to select the applicable DOI option for your record. Choose Yes if a DOI already exists for this upload, then copy and paste it into the question below. Choose No if a DOI does not already exist, then click on Get DOI Now to reserve a DOI, or leave this field blank to have one automatically assigned when the upload is published. Next, you will be required to select the applicable resource type from the drop-down menu. If you do not see the specific resource type you need, you may choose Other, and use a keyword metadata field to describe the item later on. Then you are required to enter the desired title for the upload. You can click on Add Titles to input additional titles, and then select the appropriate type from the corresponding drop-down menu. To delete any additional titles, click on the gray X to the right of the entry. Next, you are required to enter a publication date according to the year-month-date format, or other formats listed below the box. If your upload was already published elsewhere, or if you are using an existing DOI for this record, please use the date of the first publication. Then you are required to add at least one creator to the record. Click on Add Creator and enter the applicable details according to the person or organization. Note, only family name or organization name are required. Other fields are optional. You can add the creator's ORCID ID and type in their affiliation. For affiliation, you can use the free text that you've typed or click on the text provided. Also optional, you can choose a role that the person performed for this work. Remember to click on Save or save and add another when finished, or cancel to abandon the entry. Once the creators have been added, the order of creators can be rearranged by clicking on and dragging the icon to the left of the individual's names. Then, though optional, it is important to enter the desired description for the upload. Click on Add Description to input additional descriptions, then select the appropriate type from the corresponding drop-down menu. To delete any additional descriptions, click on the gray X next to the right of each entry. Finally, though optional, you should choose a license for your upload. Click on the Edit button to choose a different license than the pre-populated Creative Commons Attribution 4.0 International option. Use the search bar to locate the desired license or consult the index to find an appropriate license. You can review the definitions for the Creative Commons licenses at creativecommons.org. Make sure to click on the Change License button to save any changes. To look at optional metadata, be sure to review the metadata available under the menus for Recommended Information, Funding, Alternate Identifiers, and Related Works to see if you can add additional information that will describe your work. Finally, you are required to select the desired visibility settings on the upper right side of the page according to Full Record and Files Only preferences. Please make sure to modify visibility settings before publishing the record. Setting the full record to public visibility makes the metadata and files publicly accessible. This option allows anyone in the world to view the metadata of the deposit, such as the title and the creators, and to view any files associated with the deposit. Setting the full record to restricted visibility makes the metadata and files only accessible to users specified in the permissions. This option allows the metadata for the deposit, such as titles and creators, and the associated files with it to be viewed only by system administrators, users who receive a shared link, and if the record is submitted to a community, any community administrators and members. Apply an embargo to restrict accessibility for a specific period of time by checking the corresponding box and providing a date. On this date, the metadata and the files will automatically be made publicly accessible. If the full record is set to public, there are two options for the files. Setting the files only to public visibility makes the metadata and files publicly accessible. Setting the files only to restricted visibility makes the metadata publicly accessible, but the files can only be accessed by users specified in the permissions. Finally, select the preferred Save Draft, Preview, or Publish options to properly store or view the record. Save Draft will store the changes that have been made without publishing the record. Preview will provide an external view of the record without publishing it, and Publish will finalize the record and its settings, at which point the record and files can no longer be deleted from the repository. If you have any questions about uploading a new record, please contact us at prism@northwestern.edu.